Hi, I'm Younus Ghazali. I recently read an article questioning whether China has really eliminated poverty. Since I have been in China for quite a long time and have personally visited rural areas like Jinping and Malipo in Yunnan, so I wanted to share what I actually seen on the ground. First, let's talk about how poverty is defined. One thing I have clearly noticed over the past decade is that China's definition of poverty has not stayed the same. It has evolved. In the past, poverty was mainly about basic survival, whether people had enough food and clothing. But today, the standard is much broader. It includes access to education, healthcare, safe housing, and even long-term stability. So the idea that China is using a static poverty standard does not really match what I have seen. The benchmark has been raised over time, not frozen. If I compare this to some other countries, I would say China's approach is quite strict and dynamic. In many places, poverty is measured mainly by income levels. In China, it goes beyond that. There's a strong focus on whether people can sustainably improve their lives, not just temporary cross and income lines. Also, the system is very targeted. Instead of broad policies, there's a detailed tracking of household, which makes it more responsive and adaptable. I once heard a slogan in China, "We will develop together and not leave anyone behind." And honestly, I believe it. I have seen real change. I have seen China's rapid development across the country. And at the same time, nothing comes easy. People put in a lot of effort and time to develop the neighborhoods, the cities, and the country, and with the goal of becoming stronger and more developed. Let me talk a bit more about Jinping and Malipo because these places really changed my perspective. Both are located in Yunnan and they are quite remote, especially Malipo, which is very mountainous and close to the border. Just getting there gives you a sense of how challenging life must have been in the past. But what really surprised me was what I saw when I arrived. The environment is incredibly clean and natural. The air feels fresh. There's greenery everywhere. And the villagers are very nice and peaceful. At the same time, it's not as isolated as you might expect, since these areas are in the mountains. Some of the roads are long, steep, and winding, but they are well built and actually look impressive. Transportation is much better than I expected because there are taxis everywhere, and I even saw quite a few expensive cars. People are clearly connected to the nearby town and markets, and the markets themselves are busy and active. In terms of daily life, I noticed that many families now live in solid, well-constructed houses instead of old, fragile ones. There's access to electricity, clean water, and internet in many areas. What stood out the most to me was the sense of stability. People are not just surviving anymore, they are planning, working, and thinking about the future. I also visited two schools, one in Jinping and one in Malipo. I was honestly amazed. These government schools felt like high-quality private schools. They were not only large but also well equipped with playgrounds and proper facilities. Students are provided with meals so they can focus on study and build a better future. So when people talk about poverty in abstract terms, I always think back to these places because what I saw there was not just policy, it was real change in how people live. Of course, no system is perfect and it's reasonable to ask questions, but based on what I have personally seen in places like Jinping and Malipo, the improvements are real and meaningful. So I think it's important to look at both data and first-hand experience before making conclusions. And China has open visa-free access for over 75 countries, so you can also come and see the reality for yourself. And thanks for watching, and I will